Donald Trump has said that Ukraine has zero gratitude to his efforts in ending the war and has slammed the European Union, in fact, for continuing to buy oil from Russia. This is a statement that has come in from Donald Trump amid talks to finalize a peace plan to end the Russia-Ukraine war. In a social media post, President Donald Trump has said that Ukraine has zero gratitude for his efforts. US President Donald Trump has sharpened his criticism of Ukraine's leadership, saying that Ukraine has shown zero gratitude for the Washington's effort in the war, even as US, Ukraine and European officials gathered in Switzerland to discuss the American drafted plan to end the conflict. So that is a statement coming in from US President Donald Trump. In a lengthy Truth Social post, Donald Trump has repeated his claim that Russia-Ukraine war would have never happened with strong and proper US and Ukrainian leadership, and insisted that he in fact inherited a war that should have never happened. Let me go across to my colleague Srinjoy once again. Srinjoy, this comment that is coming from US President Donald Trump, he said that Ukraine has zero gratitude, and this comes at a time when a key meeting in fact took place in Switzerland between the US officials and the Ukrainian official, and also the deadline for the finalization of the peace deal is also nearing, and that is on Thursday, November 27th.
President Trump has said different things at different times about the Ukrainian issue. The current position is like the time President Zelensky first came to the White House when he was president, when he was asked why he wasn't wearing a suit and he was being disrespectful and so on. Now, at this point, there are very strong differences between the Americans and the Europeans on Ukraine. The Europeans have made 2 points very clear. One is that there should be no partition of Ukraine. That's what the Europeans are saying. They believe that ceding land to Russia is not the right idea, and that's not something that should happen. Now, that is something, there are differences between the American ideas and the European ideas, and we will have to see how that gets worked out. The other issue relates to American weapons. Now, at this point, will the president continue to send weapons to Ukraine, either via Europe or directly? That is something there has been a lot of waffling about. We will have to see how that turns out.
Absolutely. Srinjoy, stay on with us. In fact, we have a reaction coming in from US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. In fact, on Sunday, he has said about, as far as the Russia war on Ukraine is concerned, that the talks that were conducted in Switzerland, they were probably the most productive and meaningful meeting so far in the entire process. He gave the briefing standing with the head of the Ukrainian delegation and presidential chief of staff, and said that after the meeting, in fact, Donald Trump was also very pleased. In fact, first of all, we saw the reaction coming in, the Truth Social post by Donald Trump that Ukraine is ungrateful, and then after this meeting, Marco Rubio has said that Donald Trump is now pleased. So where do things stand after this key meeting is something that remains to be seen, but the officials have expressed optimism. Let's listen in to the reaction.
So it is in my personal view that we've had probably the most productive and meaningful meeting so far in this entire process since we've been involved in from the beginning. We have a very good work product that was already built on a foundation of input from all the relative parties involved here. So we're working through making some changes, some adjustments, in the hopes of furthering narrowing the differences and getting closer to something that both Ukraine and obviously the United States are very comfortable with.
All right, so a reaction has come in from Donald Trump. In a social media post, he has mentioned that the war between Russia and Ukraine is violent and a terrible one. At that, with strong and proper US and Ukrainian leadership, would have never happened. It began long before I took office for a second term and during the sleepy Joe Biden administration, and has only gotten worse. If the 2020 presidential election was not rigged and stolen, the only thing that the radical left Democrats are good at doing. There would have been no Ukraine-Russia war, as there was not even a mention during the first term in the office. Putin would have never attacked. It was only when he saw the Sleepy Joe in action that he said, now is my chance. The rest is history, so it continues. I inherited a war that should not have happened, a war that is a loser for everyone, especially the millions of people that have, in fact, expressed zero gratitude for our efforts, and Europe that continues to buy oil from Russia. There was a meeting between, in fact, the Ukrainian officials and the US officials in Geneva. And after that, Marco Rubio has said that Donald Trump is quite pleased. But before, in fact, that took place on social media, Donald Trump has warned Ukraine that they're not showing gratitude as far as the peace plan is concerned.